Everybody's typing in the chat before we start, and now everybody's quiet. What's going on over here? All right, so we'll give it a couple of minutes for people to come in, then we'll get started. Hello, Diego. Welcome. Metastable, Frank. Frank coming in hot with the question already. A good question. I'll answer that question when we get started. We're just giving it a few minutes for people to come in. Ricky McCarson, that's a name I'm not familiar with. This must be your first time, Ricky. Hello? Unless I know you're on the Discord as a different name anyway. Hello, Risa, watching on Facebook. It's good to see you again, Risa. It's been a while. All right, I think it's just about time we can get started, at least with the beginning chant. Let me share the screen. We're in the Maggaseka chanting book, page 75. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Appakate manussesu ye jana parigamino attayang itara pajjatirameva nudavati ye chako samadakate dhamme dhamma nuvattino te jana paramesanti machudeyang sudattarang kankang dhammang vipaya Sukhang bhaveta pandito oka anokanga gama viveke yatta duramang tatra biratimecheya hitva kameya kinchano periyodapeya tanang chitta kele si pandito Ye sang sambodhi angesu sammachittang subhavitang adana patinissagge anupadaya ye rata kina sava juttimanto te loke parinibbuta. All right, English. Those who cross over. There are few among humans who go to the further shore. The rest of them run about here on this shore. But those well established in Dhamma, those who practice Dhamma, are among those who will cross over beyond the realm of death, so difficult to escape. Abandoning the way of darkness, cultivating the bright, the wise go from home to homelessness, which for others is hard to enjoy. Desiring that rare delight, renouncing pleasure, owning nothing of defilements of the mind, the wise person should cleanse themselves. Those whose minds are well established in the factors of enlightenment relinquish attachments and delight not in clinging. They, untainted and radiant, in this very world attain Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. All right, friends, welcome to Dhammapalooza, our weekly, the Maggaseka community weekly festival of Dhamma. So we have some new people. We have a full house here at the monastery. The residents have decided to stay up late with me to attend Dhammapalooza. And we have some new people in the chat, which is good. I'm still quite exhausted from the retreat this weekend. So the more people, the more energy. That'll keep me up. Or else we end early. But let's see who has come in here. All right. Rahul, welcome. Right from the retreat to Dhammapalooza. Rahul was in the retreat this weekend, and he just joined the Maggaseka community. This is his first Dhammapalooza. So, all right. So, for those of you who are new, Dhammapalooza is a 2-hour festival of Dhamma. We start out with some chanting. Towards the end, we do some guided meditation. What happens in between? Who knows? It's all up to the community. As we know, this is a community-guided event. So those of you who are in the chat, remember you are welcome to talk to each other, say hello to each other, tell each other where you're from. We have somebody on from Australia right now. We have somebody on from Ireland and all kinds of different places. Right? This is an international community. So get to know each other, say hello, and discuss Dhamma with each other in the chat. That's no problem. Even when I'm talking, if you talk to each other in the chat, that's not you're not disrespecting me or interrupting me. Please feel free to engage with each other. Right? This is a community event. And as you know, when you went to click on the YouTube channel, there was no topic. It was just Dhammapalooza and the date. That's because I never know what the topic is going to be or what we're going to do. Right? It's when Dhammapalooza closes that I make a topic. So this we can go a couple different ways here. Right? If you have any questions, you can put those in the chat. All right, we'll give it a couple of minutes to see how the chat updates. If you have any questions, put those in the chat. If you have any topics you'd like me to discuss or the community to discuss, put those in the chat. And if nobody has a question either online or in the in live here in studio in monastery, then we can read a sutta. I've had the Great 40 lined up for a couple of Dhammapaloozas, but we haven't read it yet. So we'll see what happens. Although Frank already did ask a question. Brandon, that's a good question too. I'll talk about that. Brandon asks, is the farther shore a place found in some realm? No, it's not like the Lord of the Rings, like the what's that, the Grey Havens or whatever they go to. No, I'll talk about that. But Frank had a question first. What is the meaning of the mountain, flame, banner, and lion emoji I see you post on the Discord server every day? So for the new people who have no idea what this means whatsoever, I can share screen for everybody here. Unfortunately, I can't show it to you on the computer. Um, uh, we used to before we would put HDMI to that projector and put it on the wall. I don't know if that works now, but let's see. Let me share screen here. What's that? Yeah. All right, so let's see. Share screen. You'll get it when I explain it, at least. All right, where is? Huh. Ah, wait. Hmm. It doesn't want to share the screen for some reason. There we go. So this is what I put. Well, it went away. We're having technical difficulties. So this is what I put in the chat every day. This is my greeting to the community every morning. It's a mountain, fire, a banner, and a lion. And so Frank is saying, well, what the heck does this mean? Because Frank is somewhat new to the community. So these four things are the Buddha's attitude to living life. This is how you're to live. The first one, many of you might be familiar with Pabbatopama Sutta, the simile of the mountains, right? Where the Buddha is talking to a king and he gives a simile to the king. He says, suppose your scouts were to come from all four directions and they were to say, great king, there are mountains tall as the sky, closing in, crushing everything in their wake. What would you do? The Buddha asks. And the king says, well, all I would have to, what could I do? I'll just do good deeds and practice Dhamma. And so the Buddha says, I exhort you, great king. I tell you, great king, old age, sickness, and death are closing in like mountains, crushing everything in their path. What can you do? The king repeats, do good deeds and practice Dhamma. Right? So this is so when I say, live like the mountains are closing in. Right? This is the Buddha giving us this wonderful simile to live like old age, sickness, and death are closing in, because they are. You can try to be oblivious about it and waste your time, but the Buddha wants us to recollect these things so that we have urgency. We don't waste our time. We don't waste this good human rebirth. We practice the Dhamma. So that's the first thing. Second is the fire. Practice like your head's on fire. This is a simile that you see in the Buddha, in the suttas, in many, many places, where the Buddha says, just as if, and usually it's when you see unskillful things happening in your mind. The Buddha says, just as if somebody's head or turban were to be on fire and they would exert extraordinary zeal to take the fire out, so too, this is how you should practice. And so the Buddha is saying you should practice like your head's on fire. Live like the mountains are closing in. Practice like your head's on fire. The third one is a bit more complicated. It's a bit more esoteric. It's not seen too much in the suttas, but it is a banner. In the suttas, the Buddha says, raise high the banner of seers, for the Dhamma is the banner of seers. Right? There's this imagery of a banner, like, you ever see like war movies or something like that. An army has a standard bearer, a person who carries the flag, carries the banner. That's what the Buddha is talking about here. There's multiple similes. There's a simile about where the Buddha talks about how Sakka and the Devas, when they're in battle with the Asuras, Sakka says to look upon his banner so that they don't have fear. right? And so the Buddha says to look upon his banner when there's people, when you're practicing in tough places and you have you're fearful. Look upon the banner of the Buddha, right? And you will have no fear. So the banner of the Buddha is the recollection of the qualities of the Triple Gem. So that's what this quality is. This is raising high the banner of seers. This means putting the Dhamma high in your life, right? Keeping it close, proclaiming it well. That's what the banner means. And the last one is to roar your lion's roar. The Buddha says that one roars their lion's roar confidently in the assemblies. This means to speak Dhamma well. Right? This is not meaning to be boastful. This means to speak good Dhamma and to proclaim the good Dhamma. Right? To say good things, talk about the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha, the teachings. So these 4 things, these are 4 reminders. These are 4 things that when I post in the morning, this is what I'm telling you. Live like the mountains are closing in. Practice like your head's on fire. Raise high the banner of seers. Roar your lion's roar. 4 attitudes for living that the Buddha gives in the suttas. So that's what that means. I'm working on an article for the website for that. One of these days, hopefully in the next couple of weeks or so, I'll have the article finished up. But that's the short of it. Let's see. Hello, Metika. Welcome. Welcome, Brandon. And Bella and Gautam, welcome. Jay Kala. Oh boy, the chat really blew up. Okay. One hull of a guy, welcome. Sindhu, welcome. Okay. Let me see where we're at here. Is the further shore a place found in some realm? No. The further shore is a simile the Buddha gives for Nibbana. Right? And this is a very important thing, that we should not consider Nibbana to be a place. It's not like you go to a heaven, right? It's not like, you see like in the pop culture today, they have, kind of like new agey people, normally somebody would say like, this ice cream is heaven, right? And now you can go and get some new agey ice cream called Nirvana, right? Like you eat ice cream and you go to Nirvana. There's no such place as Nirvana, right? It's a state. This is what happens after Nibbana is final extinguishment, right? After somebody who's awakened has leaves their final body, they are fully extinguished. And if you ask, well, do they exist? Do they not exist? All these questions people ask the Buddha that the Buddha did not answer. It's because you cannot describe, you cannot speak in conventional ways, in conceptual ways, that which is beyond convention and conception. But just know that the farther shore, so you have a stream or a river, and most people are on this side and they're just running up and down the banks, right? That's what the Buddha says. They're just running up and down the banks. Some people take a raft and they put it in the stream. The raft is the Dhamma, right? So they put it in the stream and they're following the Noble Eightfold Path. That's the simile of their taking the raft, trying to cross the stream, following the path. And then once you get to the other shore, you leave the raft there, right? You don't need to pick up the raft and take it, right? Your job is done. You become awakened. You don't even need the Dhamma anymore, right? You don't need the raft. You don't need this thing to cling to bring you through as a refuge, to bring you through the storm of samsara. Right? You're past that, right? So you leave the raft at the shore, and your job is done. So that's what that means. It's a simile. Don't take that literally. as like there's a place. All right. Diego, been an atheist slash materialist for the past 23 years since I was a teen. Been struggling to deal with having my self-perception change since following the Dhamma. Thoughts? I'm from Chile, by the way. Oh, welcome, friend. I know you've been on here a couple times. Um, it's always good to have people from South America and Central America. The community, our online community, the Discord, we have about 3 or 4 people from various different Central and South American countries. Well, I don't know. I think I would need to have a bit more clarity in terms of how your self perception has changed and why you're struggling with it. If you can give me more clarity in there, because it's a bit too general. Are you saying that your experience is your practice is giving you experiences that make you question the atheist materialist thing? I don't know. This is why I always tell people that if they get into Buddhist practice, they should always at least have an open mind. If they're a very skeptical, cynical, skeptical people, then when they start to practice, and if they start to actually take off in their practice, they're going to have lots of cognitive dissonance, right? Because that cynical skepticism is going to butt up against all kinds of stuff that they're going to experience in the practice, right? This is why it's good to have an open mind. It's very important to have an open mind. But give me some clarification, Diego, and I'll continue with that question. Frank has a question. See, this is the thing. What happens every time I mention reading a sutta, all of a sudden everybody has questions. Nobody wants to read a sutta. All right. So I find myself gathering a ton of Dharma books. Oh, yeah. Yep. That's a hazard of getting into Buddhism. Some I read, some not. I have meditation manuals by different teachers, Bhante G, Ajahn Jeff, Ajahn Lee, Ajahn Brahm, Ayakema, Bhikkhu Nalio, Usilananda. Am I just confusing myself, or can this be helpful? In the beginning, I think it's good to kind of explore. Try to see who, like in the beginning, I never was really a huge book person. I had a little Buddhist library, but I would try, like, for instance, like Thanissaro, Ajahn Jeff. Like I would say, okay, well, let me try his things. And I would try his meditation. And it's like, his meditation's not my thing. It's, I like some of this. I don't like some of that. And I would try Bhante Yuttadhammo. And Bhante Yuttadhammo, well, I like this. This is okay. But this meditation, this is not my thing. I give it a shot. You give it a practice. And by give it a shot, it means like you try it out for like a month, 2 months, 3 months. Not like you just try it once. He's like, oh, this is no good. Right. So it's okay to kind of, in the beginning, do some exploration, try different things, see what connects with you the most. Right. See what connects with you best. And then as you do that, you focus your practice with less. Right. Because if you're just just going through all kinds of tons of teachers and tons of methods and all that kind of stuff, and you're just kind of shallowly dipping into all these things, you're not going to go deep anywhere. And so it's important to, in the beginning, explore. And the whole thing, honestly, I think maybe at max I had 20 Buddhist books. I was never like I said, I was never big into like, I want to read what this. I like to listen to Dhamma talks. Like that was my thing. I love to listen to Dhamma talk. But even still, there were, I read 2 or 3 of Bhante G's books, 2 or 3 of Ajahn Brahm's books, obviously Thanissaro's books. I did read those. And it's funny because when I came to the monastery, there was about half the books that I never read. So, and I wanted to kind of get rid of them because I wanted to have light, like be lighter. And I wanted to have kind of just like a bunch of books on my Kindle, right? Like make it easier. I could just can carry a bunch of books. And so I just said, okay, well, I better read these before I give them away. So I was like reading, like the first year, I was just like reading books just to read them and then give them to the Bhavana library or give them to somebody or whatever like that. Um, so what I would say is definitely try to read the books. Don't just have them as a collection. But this is typical. I mean, so many people. You just if you put that question in like the Discord, at least 5 or 6 people would probably say, "Yep, that's me too." That's pretty normal, especially when you can get books that are free. Free books, why not? Just take as many as you can. That's what I would do in the beginning. Like the first time I went to Bhavana, I saw this whole shelf of free books, and I was like, "Oh, take one of these, take one of these, take one of these, take one of these." And that's the way it is. All right. Metastable. I was the same for 21 years. Metastable, the way you talk about like how long you've been doing things, you definitely don't look as old as it seems. I don't think you're older than me. That's for sure. But I guess some people just look young. All right. All right. More people agreeing with Diego's statement. Jay Kala saying in Spanish, hello from Argentina. All right. Hola, amigo de Dhamma. All right. Let's see here. Keep going through the chat. There's a lot of chatting. Oh, no. Which is good. Hey, I asked for it, didn't I? I said, how do I join the Discord? I tried to find but couldn't. One hell of a guy. I thought you were on our Discord like months ago. I could have sworn I saw you on there very briefly. But yeah, at the end, I'll post a link to join the Discord. All right. Jay Kala has a question. We're at 8:30. More of a fun, in quotations, question, but which of the great disciples do you find most inspiring or relevant to your practice and why? Oh, this is a good question. Very good. Is there anyone you find very dissimilar or hard to relate to? The disciple I relate to the most is Mahakassapa. Um, One, he's the grumpy old man to the grumpy old man of the sangha, and I can go with that. I'm sometimes, especially today, I'm a bit of a grumpy old man today. Definitely, I'm tired. Um, but also because of his in the suttas where you see his like poetry of nature, right? That's some of the oldest nature poetry in existence, right? Just like him talking about wanting to be in nature and him being one of the foremost in ascetic practices, right? I like doing that. Like that calls to me. Even though I don't live in the forest, I still practice 2 or 3 of the Dutangas. It's like I like kind of that more tougher ascetic lifestyle. So that calls to me as well. And being in the forest, I want to die in the forest. I don't want to live in, wherever, in some city or, I want to be in the forest. Right. And it's like, I have dreams of like, I get my forest monastery and it's like, okay, I'm ready to go. There's just like, let me just prop me up next to a tree somewhere and just let me die there. It's all good. All right. So yeah. So Mahakassapa to me is number one. He's the one I connect with. There's also I connect with his story with Buddha Kapalani as well. I really do like the whole like them being married through multiple lifetimes and things like that. Maybe that's because I was married and stuff with my wife and stuff like that. Maybe there's that kind of connection. Um, but like there's just everything about his story I connect with. I really like Mahakassapa. I also really love when he's in the sutras. He's like, What happened to these monks these days? Back in the day, they used to be forest practitioners. They used to only be okay with one meal a day. Now they're just all a bunch of, they're not following the rules. They're doing. I love when Mahakassapa is like that, and the Buddha's like, just so Mahakassapa, just so. Back then, the monks used to be this way, and now they're not anymore, right? So his little grumpiness and complaininess and things like that. I enjoy that. So Mahakassapa. The other one that I connect with is Sariputta. I connect with Sariputta because of my troubles with breathing meditation and stuff like that. And I feel like I'm more of in many ways, like what we would call in modern days a drive vipassana practitioner. I feel like I'm more of a wisdom kind of person. Like I don't have any feelings like I'll probably ever be able to like make the 10,000 fold world system shake with my toe or do things like Maha Moggallana can do. I feel like I'm more of a Sariputta kind of a character. And I'm not complaining. But I connect with Sariputta in that way. Because my practice, the strongest practice that I've always had is Satipatthana practice. And direct mindfulness in all of my activities. That's where I thrive. Right. That's where I'm most at home. And so Sariputta connects with me in that way as well. But I highly encourage every practitioner to like read. There's a book by, is it Helmuth Heckler, I think his name is. It's called The Great Disciples of the Buddha. Read all the stories. And like, I also have to admit, again, because of all the loss I've had in my life, in the early days, really connected with Patachara. Kisagotami too, but Patachara, like Ki- Patachara was one of the first, and Patachara is a bhikkhuni, obviously, the foremost bhikkhuni in Vinaya. That's another reason I like I like, Vinaya. But her story of the loss she went through and stuff like that, that connected with me in the early days. So Patachara I really like as well. Um, yeah, so I really do encourage all of you to like read the stories and connect with one. See which one connects with you most. Because a lot of times people can't connect with the Buddha because like the modern tradition has basically almost deified him, which you don't really see in the suttas. You see a much more human Buddha in the suttas. So a lot of people just can't identify or connect with the Buddha, but they can identify or connect with one of the disciples, and that's what they're part of the Arya Sangha, right? When you take refuge in the triple gem, the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Arya Sangha, right? Those beings who, men and women, monastics or lay people who have attained at least the first level of awakening, right? Those are our role models. They've gone before us. They followed the path. And so you can see, you can read the stories and connect. It's like, oh yeah, this person calls to me the most. I think that's a good thing. I really do. So I encourage all of you to do that. That's not, I don't think that's a question, Frank, but I like the comment. I'm going to read it for everybody. It feels like, it feels kind of like there are two different types of practice. Sometimes I'm on a raft striving towards the other shore, and other times I feel like a preschooler with floaties on, just trying to keep my head above water. Yep, that's the path. That's the path. That's yeah. That sometimes you're gonna feel confident, and sometimes you're gonna feel doubt. Right? Until you become a stream enter, you're gonna have that doubt. You're gonna feel like you're a preschooler with floaties on. It's great. Hello, Cindy. Welcome. Metastable 37. Oh, okay, yeah. So yeah, you're still kind of young. For the Discord, you're about average actually. You're not that old. There are people who are even older than me on the Discord, multiple. So you're not that young, but you're not that old for the Discord either. Let's see here. Okay, Diego has the clarification. Um, Being a skeptic, rationalist, materialist, atheist has been a huge part of my identity. Friends are all atheists. Parents are all atheists. Wife and daughter are all atheists. Ah, okay. I struggle with more supernatural aspects of the Dhamma. Should I ignore it and wait for the practice to clear my doubts? Should I approach it another way? I welcome any suggestions. Yeah, like I said, keep an open mind. Just keep an open mind. You're not forced to believe in anything. Just keep practicing, keep an open mind, let things unfold. Don't feel like you have to believe in anything. I acknowledge that mind state because I have like a dichotomous mind state. I have a mind that's super rational and scientific, and a mind that wishes I could cast fireballs and have magic in the world. Right? I have these two things going back and forth. And for a long time, I tried to see if there was all kinds of magic in the world. And so, like for me, I hope there's devas and nagas and yakas and all kinds of beings, and I include them in my metta, and I talk to them and say hello to them and things like that. Am I talking to the wind? I don't know. Um, but for me, because I had that other part that feels like in the modern world, we've lost a lot, right? Being the anthropology major and lover of human history, and like I feel like the modern human has lost some of the magic that our ancestors had. And yes, you could say, well, they believed in stupid things. They didn't know the world. They thought that the earth was, the sun was a god or whatever. And yeah, you could say, yes, yeah, okay, I get it. But that mythology and how they lived in the world was so much at more peace with the world. And it's just more, they lived in a better way, I think, in many ways, right? Than we do in our kind of, because I don't think that humans are solely rational, materialistic beings, right? Some people talk about a God-shaped hole in people today. You kind of look at society's kind of degenerate and lost and nihilistic today, at least in America. And so I believe that there is this kind of God-shaped hole, right? This kind of that there's this spiritual aspect of us as beings that if you deny, I don't think it really is the best for you, right? And again, I get it. I have that part of me that's very rational, very scientific. But I feel blessed that also have the other part that likes and kind of wishes. Like, I mean, I can remember, being young, like watching shows like Bigfoot, and it's like, man, I hope there's Bigfoot out there, right? Like things like that, you know. And I think I think keeping an open mind is good, right? You don't know. And you know what? If you even want to go science, one of the things that kind of really clicked with me with devas, I love like astronomy, right? So I used to watch all these shows about the universe and things like that. And I remember watching this show, and the guy's talking about string theory, right? M theory, multi dimensions. And he's walking and he's like, if this theory is true, there could be like dinosaurs walking right around here and we couldn't even see them. And of course, graphically, they put in like dinosaurs walking around and things like that. And I thought, what if that's devas? What if the devas are beings in just other dimensions that are around us, but you need the divine eye and the divine ear to see them and to hear them? This is science talking. This is not even this is not even mythology. So who knows, right? Keep an open mind. We just don't know. I love that one quote. What's the scientist? Was it Feynman maybe who said, "Not only is the world," I have to use more PC modern language because they use a word that is people don't like anymore, but this is an old quote. It says, not only is the universe more weird than we ever imagined, it's more weird than we can ever imagine. So who knows what's out there? Who knows what beings are out there? So keep an open mind and practice and see where it leads you. It's okay to shelve things. Put it aside. Talks with 2.5 hour runtime. What talks are you listening? I've never seen a Dhamma talk that has almost 3 hours. Wow. It makes your ADHD recoil in terror. Well, if it's online, just pause it and resume it somewhere other. Right? That's what I do. Like if I'm listening to something that's like 2 or 3 hours long, I just stop and I go back to it. And if YouTube doesn't, keep the spot, I just write it down. That's all. Frank says, for whatever some reason, I'm always connected to the monk who was the reformed serial killer. That's Angulimala. Yeah. Angulimala is a great lesson in the fact that nobody is irredeemable. Right? That's what Angulimala's lesson is. There's nobody who's irredeemable. And you look at Angulimala, if you even start to judge Angulimala, then you're ignoring all the bad karma that you've created in the past. I know for a fact that in a past life, I made Genghis Khan look like a Boy Scout. Right? Just like Genghis Khan makes Hitler look like a Boy Scout for what Genghis Khan did. Right? Literally like killing 1 million people in a day. Like Genghis Khan was, a beast in terms of that stuff. Like he really wrecked things. And so, yeah, I know in past lives, I've done all kinds of horrible things. So I have all kinds of horrible karma in the past. So who am I to judge anybody today? Right? Thankfully, in this life, I was born pretty much a goody two shoes, which is probably because of good past karma. So I'm born a goody two shoes. And I became a monk, so I have good, my good karma is shining through in this life. And if I don't become at least a stream mentor in this life, the next life, I could go to Naraya, seventh hell of Lotus, Red Lotus, whatever hell, who knows? But yeah, this is important to reflect on this. Christine says that she is currently listening to the Great Disciples on Audible. Very good. All right. Cindy says, what is a stream enter, please? Thank you. So some people say that there are 4 stages of awakening. For lack of a better word, I'll use that. I'm not quite sure that that's really kind of what's meant in the suttas. But we have 10 fetters, 10 things, 10 habitual tendencies that keep us bound in samsara. Like we have chains. Like imagine, like you ever see like what you call a Christmas Carol with Scrooge's partner who always has the chains. He's walking around with the chains. You think about that. Like we have like 10 chains that we're carrying around, wrapped around us. And the stream mentor, when you become a stream mentor, a sotapanna, you have destroyed the first 3 chains. This has put you on the path, irrevocable path to awakening. Once you become a stream mentor, there's no more hell realm, no more ghost realm, no more animal realm. There's only human realms or heaven realms. once you become a stream enter. And also, once you become a stream enter, even if you are the most lazy layabout stream enter, you are guaranteed within 7 lifetimes to become awakened. This is why my preceptor Bhante Ji says, everybody should at least strive to become a stream enter in this lifetime. Money back guarantee. If you become a stream enter, you'll be totally happy. Right? Become a stream enter in this lifetime. That if anybody who's following the Noble Eightfold Path, that's a good aspiration. I'd be so happy. Obviously, my goal is to become awakened in this lifetime. Hopefully, I have the karma to be able to do that, and I practice hard this lifetime, and I can do it. But if I can at least become stream enter, that's a pretty good consolation prize. I'd be quite happy with stream enter, because that means my ungodly number of lifetimes in samsara is coming to an end. It's a pretty good deal to become a stream enter. And stream enter is accessible even to lay people. So don't think, oh, I'm a lay person, I can't become a stream enter. No. You can become a stream enter. Right? You can actually become a stream enter if you're a strong faith follower, which I'm not. So it's not that easy for me. But yeah, even if you have faith in the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, that can help you to become a stream enter. But if you follow Noble Eightfold Path sincerely, honestly, dedicatedly, then you'll become a stream enter. Maybe not in this lifetime, but in a future lifetime. That's how you become a stream enter. You follow the Noble Eightfold Path. Know it well, practice it well. Stream enter has destroyed the first 3 fetters, the first 3 chains. First one is Sakyaditi, identity view. They have examined, they know, oh, they've seen that this body's not me, mine, myself. This mind is not me, mine, myself. I've not found anything in my experience that's me, mine, myself. They still have the conceit, I am, though. There's still this little nugget that says, even though I've not found a self somewhere, it's still there somewhere. There's still this little conceit. And only an arahant fully destroys that. Only a fully awakened being fully destroys the conceit I am. But so there's no more identity view. There's no more vicikiccha, doubt. They have seen a glimpse of nibbana in their own experience. They know for a fact that this path is correct. This path will be taking them to awakening. And the last is Silabhata Paramasa. This is usually translated as attachment to rules and rituals. What this means is, so this is a few of you were at the retreat this weekend, right? And the Sunday morning talk, I talked about how important it is to understand the cultural context of the Buddha's time, right? To understand the Buddhist teachings. And when you understand, you say, well, reliance on rules and rituals, what's this mean? Maybe I don't bow, I don't need an altar, I don't need this, I don't need that. What it means, you can see it in the suttas. The Buddha talks to various people. Buddha talks to people, ascetics, who believe that if they wash themselves 3 times a day, that will eventually cleanse their mind. So they take baths 3 times a day. Or the dog duty ascetic believes that if they act like a dog, right? They go around naked, they walk, or they walk around like a dog, they poop wherever, they do things like a dog. Right? You can see in the suttas, the Buddha talks to a dog duty ascetic and he gives him the bad news. But thankfully, that dog duty ascetic does become a bhikkhu, which is good. Right? So you have all of these samanas at the time of the Buddha who were trying all kinds of various things to become awakened. And so the Buddha is very clearly saying, no, the way you become awakened, the way you cleanse your mind is through your actions. So sacrificing cows to the fire, keeping the sacred fire going, all these different things, those don't bring you to awakening. Some of those things might help you on your path. Like, for instance, like bowing, right? For some people, having an altar is very beneficial to their path. For other people, it's not, right? So these things, like you see in like traditional Buddhist, like having a Buddha statue. Like, if I'm honest, I know this is blasphemy to some people, but Buddhist statues don't do anything for me. They never have. I don't have my own Buddha statues. I didn't have an altar after about the first year or two of my practice. But for some people, Buddha statues and altars are great, and they like incense. Incense makes me nauseous. I'm not a big incense person, but for some people, that's beneficial to do the incense and to do the things, all these things. That's fine, and so that can help them, right, on their path. Help them put their mind state in a. That doesn't mean, that's not what Sila Bhatta Paramasa means. It's very important that we understand this. And so those 3 first fetters, gone. You're a stream enterer now. Then when you work hard, you practice, keep following the Noble Eightfold Path, then you attenuate, you weaken greed and hatred. You become a Sakyadagami, once returner. And you keep practicing. Once returner means that they come back to the human realm one more time to become awakened. Then you keep practicing and you fully eradicate greed and hatred. Gone. You become a anagami, non-returner. If you don't become awakened in that very life, then you go to the pure abodes, you become awakened there. But even if you're an anagami, you still have only knocked out half the chains, half the defilements, or half the fetters. You have to become fully awakened to knock out the last 5. Desire for rebirth in a form realm, like being a human. Desire for rebirth in a formless realm, like being the beings that, if you practice lots of the formless attainments, you can be these mind-made beings that last for 80,000 eons in the depths of space and things like that, right? Formless realms. Let's see. Then there's the conceit, I am. The restlessness. This last restlessness is the restlessness of somebody who sees the end in sight and is ready to become awakened. It's not like udacha kukucha from the hindrances, restlessness and remorse. This is a different restlessness. And then the last one is ignorance. Last 5 fetters are gone. Person's awakened. So this is since Cindy, you don't know what a stream enter was, I figured I'd go through the whole cycle for you. So now you can understand a little bit in that way. All right. Lots of questions today. This I think is going to be a questionful Dhammapalooza. That happens. All right. Sean asks, "Hey Bante, I was hoping you could talk about delusions in the Buddhist context and how one can practice to be free of them." So, delusion. Remember, we have 3 akusala mula, 3 unwholesome roots: lobha, dosa, moha. Lobha, greed, attachment. Dosa, hatred, aversion. Moha, delusion. This should be not confused with ignorance. People confuse these 2 things, and that's because they don't use the Pali words as a grounding. This is I always talk about. If you hear different teachers and they talk about, use English words, who knows what the English words mean? What's the Pali word? Right? So ignorance is avidya. Delusion is moha. Because you have ignorance, you cannot see things clearly. That's what delusion is. Delusion is you are not seeing reality clearly. It's like you're wearing glasses that have like, I don't know, paint or some kind of like you see those like windows that have like a stained glass or something that have like something over them, so they're not clear, they're opaque, right? So it's like you're trying to see the world, but your glasses are all foggy, are all full of gunk. You're not seeing anything correctly. And because you're not seeing anything correctly, you're going about the world being stupid, acting unskillfully, acting unwholesomely. But as you practice the Noble Eightfold Path, then it's like you're cleaning your glasses. You're starting to see things more clearly. Or another example I used to give at Bhavana, I'd point to the mountain. I'd say, it's like you're always looking at the mountain every day, but you can't see it because there's always fog. And then one day the fog starts to slowly dissipate and you start to see all the details of the mountain. So, oh, I never saw that before. Right? That's what happens as our delusion starts to lessen. We start to see things, and it's such a duh moment. It's so clear that you wonder how you never saw these things before. How could you not have seen in this way before? Well, it's because you were deluded. You weren't seeing clearly because of your ignorance. You've started to replace your ignorance with wisdom. So you've started to see things more clearly. And so that is how you practice to be free of them. You follow the Noble Eightfold Path. I know I say that a lot, but that's the answer, right? It's the fourth noble truth. It's the way leading to the cessation of suffering. So the answer is always the Noble Eightfold Path. The more you follow the Noble Eightfold Path, sincerely, dedicatedly, ardently, then the more you see with wisdom, not with delusion. And boy, are we deluded. We are extremely deluded. Even me, it's so funny. Like I think I said it the other day. Like I was talking about mindfulness of death practices, and I was like, even though I've seen so much death in my life, and I've practiced mindfulness of death practice for like 12, 13 years, my mind still doesn't really know, like, doesn't really get death. It's like my mind still doesn't know. I don't know. I'm gonna have to practice a lot more years, I think. Right? I've come a decent amount, but there's still delusion in my mind. Right? The Buddha says in Satipatthana, know a deluded mind as deluded, and an undiluted mind as undiluted. Well, I can see still lots of delusion in my mind. But that's a pretty good place to be in. That means I've developed enough wisdom that I can actually see that I'm deluded. Right? Most people don't know that they're deluded. They're ignorant of their ignorance. It's the way it goes. All right. Just looking through the chat. Rahul asked, how old was I when I decided to become a monk? I guess the first inkling of it was I was 32. I left for the monastery when I was 36. The 2010 was when the first inklings of wanting to become a monk started. 2014 was when I was ready to actually do it. I had a career. I had my own business. I had a car payment. Actually, the car payment was what I used to decide, like, okay, I got 3 years left on the car payment. Car payment, monk. That's what I decided. And so it didn't quite work out. Bhavana couldn't accept me when my car payment was done. They couldn't accept me in March of 2014. But then they called me back and they said, come in September of 2014. And that's when I went. So I was 32 when I first had it, because I was born in 78. So 32, 2010. Then 36 when I moved there. And 37 when I was fully ordained. Yeah. It was 38 because this is 6 and I'm 44 now. Yeah, so 38. Yeah. I'm old. But not that old. Still a good time to go out. But yeah, that was my ages. Frank asked a question I already answered multiple times. Any practical advice on how to practice to make stream entry more likely in this life? Practice the Noble Eightfold Path. Don't forget, especially Samma Sati and Samma Samadhi. All of it, obviously. But practice the Noble Eightfold Path. It's a whole package. Practice the whole package. Don't neglect any one part of it. Don't neglect. All right, you guys are having lots of good discussion. Very good. Any questions from the live audience?
You mentioned afterlife, past life. How it comes to that realization? Bigger version can't get
Oh, yeah, no, okay. So the question was, I mentioned past life. How did I come to the realization that I was worse than Genghis Khan in a past life? I have not seen my past lives. No, so that's not what it is. It's just from what the Buddha says in the suttas. Right? You read the suttas, the Buddha tells us that we have done all of these. When you look at somebody who is suffering, you recollect, I have experienced this in the past. You look at somebody who is having good success and happiness, you recollect, I have done this in the past. So it's you're reflecting on the fact of your past lives. And I guess what I can also say is, so I have an interesting history with rebirth. I was raised Catholic, fully Catholic, Catholic school my whole life, altar boy, the whole deal. I have no idea where I got these ideas, but I vividly remember myself as a 10-year-old altar boy up at the altar with the priest during a mass, and I was daydreaming as to whether I was Julius Caesar or Alexander the Great in a past life. Where that came from, I have no clue. Absolutely no clue. But from a young age, I was like, maybe I was one of these, because everybody thinks that they were like some famous person in their past life, right? That's the way it goes. So, and I do also feel there's some weird warrior karma that I have. And I wanted to be a jet fighter pilot my whole life, and I tried to join the military 3 times in this life. But each time something worked out where I didn't or I couldn't. And I've always felt very attracted to military stuff, ancient warfare. Like there's some just weird military karma that I have. And again, I always like my parents, like, they were like, not quite hippies, but there's like, there's no like militariness. It's like, why did I want to have guns? Like when I got old enough, I got guns and things like that. And I wanted to shoot and things like that. I have no idea where any of that came from, but it's just part of me. I just like, I feel like that's my karma. Like I was like, it's funny, like George Patton, who's a famous general from World War II, American general. He actually, and when I was like 13 and I read this, I was like amazed. Like, so he believed in past lifetimes and he believed that he had been a warrior throughout multiple lifetimes. And he even wrote poetry about it. And when I read that, I was like, wow, yeah, that I connect with that really strongly. Where it came from, no idea. Absolutely no clue. I think about like, what did I learn? Was there something in my past? I don't know. I mean, maybe it could be because I loved history and I would watch the History Channel a lot from a young age, maybe. But this stuff kind of came a little bit before that. But so, yeah, I guess that's like all the the different aspects of why I probably feel like I killed a lot of people in the past. Thankfully, not like I grew up, I really wanted to be a jet fighter pilot. I even learned how to fly regular planes when I was 16. Um, and when I couldn't do it, I was quite sad. But now I'm like, thank Buddha, thank my good karma that I didn't have to kill a bunch of people in this lifetime. Right? If somebody said, Bante, you want to go up in a jet, I probably still would want to. I would have liked to have been in a jet one time this life, but it is what it is, right? But I'm happy that I haven't had to kill any beings in this lifetime. All right, yeah.
So I agree. I thank you for mentioning keeping an open mind about certain things you don't, understand or believe in yet. But another hindrance for me is actually a lot of the rituals that we go through. So I guess I grew up in a Buddhist family. It's still a complete different culture for me.
Mhm.
It's our tradition that like it feels like it becomes a barrier because I don't even know how to get that voted yet. And if I do just follow through, I feel like I'm just copycatting. So there's definitely just I feel like it's just a barrier that I don't know how to cross over yet, like, go one way or the other.
Okay. So the question is about born in a Buddhist culture, but it kind of feelings about the ritualistic parts and um so I think what happens is, again, this is the anthropologist talking. A lot of the rituals that cultures come up with, when they came up with them at the time, made sense. Over time, people lose the meaning or the context changes. Like, for instance, the whole putting water in the bowl, like that the monks do. Like, there's no point in that. There's absolutely no point in, like, why do I put water in my bowl? Like, when I was at Bhavana, we didn't do that, and my bowl was always, I ate from the bowl for years. It's like, but at the in when you had more rustic bowls and you were out in the wilderness, then yeah, it would probably be good to wash your bowl, right? So there's certain things that people do that over time the meaning is lost or the context for doing it is lost, right? And so this is why you kind of find, like, the children of people, or the grandchildren of people who were really like religious or really then the grandchildren are kind of like, well, why am I doing this? I don't feel connected to this. This is not my thing. It's like I don't see any reason for doing this. So what I'd say is, either try to kind of see a purpose and a reason, try to find the reason for doing it that connects with you, that will make you want to do it. Or, I mean, it's okay if you let it go. And that, one way or the other, I think, like, for you to really want to do it, there has to be meaning behind it, or else it's just going through the motions. So the goal is to find the meaning.
Because you didn't even come from that culture. Like I feel like I should have a leg up, but I actually don't.
Mm. The only thing I could say is,
Well, like ultimately, it's a fetter, so it's not super important.
I mean, yes and no, but it can be beneficial if you you're the type of person that it's beneficial for. You might be more of a Dhamma follower, right? You might not. I think a lot of the ritualistic things are more tools for faith followers. Even, I mean, honestly, even when I was Catholic, I was kind of like, well, why are we doing this? And this is the blood of Christ, and what is going on here? And like that, I've just always been. It's the rational, materialistic side of me, I guess. I don't know. So for me, like for instance, the bowing thing. I'll talk about. I guess the only like, how did I find meaning in the bowing? I found meaning in the bowing when I became a monk and I was bowing to senior monastics and I started to feel really good doing it. It just, I don't know exactly how per se, but it felt really good to pay respects to somebody more senior than me. Coming from a culture where that's like, no, but that's not in the Western culture. What do you, that has nothing to, we throw our grandparents in homes, right? It's like, but it's like, it's like, it started to feel good. It started to feel very humble. And I like doing it. I'll be honest with you, the whole every time I enter a room, bow, leave, bow, like mostly I'm going through the motions. Mostly it doesn't do anything for me. But it's kind of what I'm expected to do. Now there has been, like, I remember vividly, and this is one time in my life I have bowed with such devotion and such gratitude for the Buddha. I remember it was during a retreat at Bhavana, and I was going through a particularly rough time, rough retreat. And I was trying to, say, okay, no, we're going to sit, we're going to meditate, we're going to practice, and just really kind of working through. And I broke through and I got into good, deep meditation. And I was the last one left in the hall. And I opened my eyes and I just was like, wow. And I just felt it was so pouring through with devotion and gratitude. And I was just by myself in the hall and I got down and I just bowed. Right. And I felt it then. And there's a part of me that wishes I could feel that every time I bow. But I just don't, because it just becomes rote. It's kind of like me, like how I feel like in the Thai tradition, they say sadhu too many times. Sadhu means excellent. If everything's excellent, then nothing's excellent. Like, so I'm kind of like, I don't think we need to say sadhu so many times. But that's just me. When I say sadhu, I really mean like sadhu. Like this is like really excellent. And so I think you have to find what works for you. And that's, and just be honest with what works and what doesn't. What kind of meaning? Like when I try to find a ritual, like for instance, the Sri Lankan ritual of the water pouring. It's kind of like the first thing is like, what's going on with this? What's the point of this? You just all kind of just, the monks are chanting and you're just pouring water. I don't kind of get it. But then it was explained to me. It was explained to me that was like reflecting of a pouring out of your generosity. Right. And I was like, oh, I kind of like that. That's kind of neat. I like that. Like, it's like once I kind of knew what the purpose was and the purpose actually made sense to me and it connected with me, I like that. I like it. I think that's pretty neat. And I can remember at Bhavana, I was sitting in the Sangha hall with a bunch of lay people, some Westerners and a Sri Lankan couple. And I was explaining to the Westerners the point behind this ceremony. And the Sri Lankan couple looked at me and said, Bhante, I never knew that. And I'm like, what? But again, it's just, that's what they grew up in the culture. That's just what they did because that's part of the culture. Just like when I grew up in the Catholic culture and that's just what I did. So I think that you have to find for yourself purpose and meaning behind doing it for you to actually want to do it. Or else it's just no meaning. And then you're just going through the motions. And I think that's as good as I'm going to be able to do to help you with that question. Rahul's off to bed. Oh yeah, we have gone. We're down to the last 45 minutes, and the chat is quiet. So why don't we do our meditation? So let's do our meditation for a bit. Then we'll, after meditation, we'll do some Dhammapada verses and close out. All right. Set yourself up in a position that works for you, that's stable and comfortable. We'll spend some time scanning through the body. Bring your awareness to your feet. By bring awareness, this means to focus, pay attention to whatever feeling or sensation comes into your field of awareness. Perhaps the feeling of the feet pressing against the cushion or the floor. It's good to practice this method before we meditate so that we can observe when there's a imbalance in the posture or a small feeling of discomfort that will lead to a feeling of pain later. It's better to move around a lot in the beginning so that later on you can sit longer with less pain and less movement. Bring your awareness up through the ankles and into the calves. If you have trouble connecting with a sensation in that part of the body as you're scanning through, you can prompt yourself by asking, what do I see? What do I feel? Bring your awareness up through the knees and into the thighs. The more you do this practice, the more you will master being able to see the body in a minute level. Notice when the posture is just a little bit imbalanced. And that will start to cause you pain halfway through your meditation. It's a very good mindfulness practice. Bring your awareness through to the hips and pelvis. This is an important part of your posture, impacting both the legs and the spine. Pay close attention to how the hips and pelvis are positioned. When you're ready, bring your awareness up through the abdomen to the chest, up the spine. Ideally, you want the spine to be in its neutral position, not leaning and slouching here and there. The leaning and slouching will cause back pain as you sit for longer periods. Bring your awareness to your shoulders. Check to make sure they're hanging loosely, not scrunched up and tight. Down through to the elbows and hands. Observe how the position of the elbows and hands impacts your spine. And finally, up to the head. If the spine is in its neutral position, resting comfortably on the pelvis, the head should also be resting comfortably, not leaning or slouching here or there, chin parallel to the floor. When you're done setting up your body in a comfortable and stable position, let the body go and take 3 deep silent breaths. Then let the breath go. From here on in, try not to manipulate or control the breath in any way. This body has been breathing from the moment you were born. It will continue to do so until the second you die. It doesn't need you to do its job. Your job is to simply observe, investigate, and abide with the breath as this body breathes in and this body breathes out. Friends, we come to this meditation with many responsibilities, worries, and burdens. Family and friends, work and school, worries about the society, many things that will seek to come to our mind as we follow the breath. For the time of this meditation, we practice letting go, laying down our burden. Lay your world down and follow the breath. There'll be plenty of time for worries and concerns later. As you're following the breath, your mind will become bored, will run away to the past or the future, across the world or the galaxy, or an external distraction like a sound will arise and your mind will chase after it. This is normal. You did not do anything wrong or fail as a meditator. This is simply the mind showing you how it works, showing you its craving. Whenever you get distracted away, very slowly after a time, you will start to recognize, it will start to dawn on you that you've been distracted away. At that point, fully acknowledge that you've been taken away from the breath. Bring back all your mindfulness and practice letting go of the distraction. By practice letting go, this means that we don't want to get agitated and try to push it away. nor do we want to get excited and get attached to it. We simply want to let it be, give it no energy or attention, let it go on its way, and then return to the breath. Whenever you're distracted away, acknowledge, let go, and return over and over. If while you're following the breath, a distraction arises that's so strong, and no matter how many times you try to let it go and return to the breath, it takes up your whole field of awareness. You can't get away from it. And at that point, you can let go of the breath as an object of meditation and switch to that experience. Maybe it's a itching or a pain arising. Dive very deeply into that experience, just as you would following the breath. What is it like in the body to have a pain or an itch? What does it feel like? The sensations that you're experiencing. Try to investigate that as deeply as possible. And also, what is the state of the mind while you're experiencing this phenomena? What is the tone, the nonverbal tone of the mind when it's experiencing itching or pain? What thoughts are arising in the mind related to that experience? What impulses are arising? Strong desires to perform an action, like to scratch the itch or adjust your posture to alleviate the pain. Try to investigate deeply the interplay between the mind and the body with that experience. Through the feelings, mind states, thoughts, and impulses. FMTI. Investigate that itch or that pain, that experience, as long as you can endure it. Practice patient endurance. Stay with it for as long as you can to learn from it as much as you can. And when you've had too much, you've reached the end of your endurance, then it's okay to scratch the itch or adjust the posture. But do so without losing your mindfulness. Continue to observe. How is the mind changing? What is the feeling of the finger scratching the itch or the posture moving? Investigate how the experience is changing as you're acting. And then once that experience is over, return to the breath. For the last few minutes, we're going to shift our practice, let go of the breath, and just rest our focus and awareness on the body as a whole. For the next couple minutes, patiently wait for a phenomenon, an experience to arise that comes prominently into your field of awareness, and then dive into that experience. Use the framework of investigating this feeling and sensation, the tone of mind, the thoughts and the impulses on whatever arises. And then when it goes away and another thing arises in your field of awareness, apply the same investigation to that. Whatever comes up, investigate. Feelings, mind states, thoughts, and impulses. All right, slowly open your eyes. Become aware of the room around you, moving from the internal to the external, back to the live stream. As is usually the case, we dropped a bunch of people when meditation started. And it also is getting late, especially for the people who joined us and it's 2:00 in the morning in various places in the world. So friends, why don't we read some Dhammapada? Let me Share screen. We didn't get to the Great 40 again. Maybe next week. All right. Yeah, we did the self last week, so now we're going to do the world. All right. Ricky had a blast at his first Dhammapalooza. Very good. But he left during the meditation. All right. Lokavagga. Sharing screen. Follow not the vulgar way. Live not in heedlessness. Hold not false views. Linger not long in worldly existence. Arise, do not be heedless. Lead a righteous life. The righteous live happily both in this world and the next. Lead a righteous life. Lead not a base life. The righteous live happily both in this world and the next. One who looks upon the world as a bubble and a mirage, him the king of death sees not. Come, behold this world, which is like a decorated royal chariot. Here fools flounder, but the wise have no attachments to it. He who, having been heedless, is heedless no more, illuminates the world like the moon freed from the clouds. He who by good deeds covers the evil he has done, illuminates this world like the moon freed from the clouds. Blind is the world. Here only a few possess insight. Only a few, like birds escaping from the net, go to the realms of bliss. Swans fly on the path of the sun. Men pass through the air by psychic powers. The wise are led away from the world after vanquishing Mara and his hosts. For a liar who has violated the one law of truthfulness, who holds in scorn the hereafter, there is no evil that he cannot do. Truly, misers fare not to the heavenly realms, nor indeed do fools praise generosity. But the wise man rejoices in giving, and by that alone does he become happy hereafter. Better than sole sovereignty over the earth, better than going to heaven, better than even lordship over all the worlds, is the supermundane fruition of stream entrance. Ah, there you go. There's a nice line about stream entry. All right, we have some time. We'll go to the next section on the Buddhas. By what track can you trace the trackless Buddha of limitless range, whose victory nothing can undo, whom none of the vanquished defilements can ever pursue? By what track can you trace that trackless Buddha of limitless range, in whom exists no longer the entangling and embroiling craving that perpetuates becoming? Those wise ones who are devoted to meditation and who delight in the calm of renunciation, such mindful ones, supreme Buddhas, are even the gods hold dear. Hard is it to be born a man. Hard is the life of mortals. Hard is it to gain opportunity hearing the sublime truth. And hard to encounter is a rising of the Buddhas. Very famous line next. To avoid all evil, to cultivate good, and to cleanse one's mind. This is the teaching of all the Buddhas. Enduring patience is the highest austerity. Nibbana is supreme, say the Buddhas. He is not a true monk who harms another, nor a true renunciate who oppresses others. Not despising, not harming, restrained according to the moral code, moderating in food, dwelling in solitude, devotion to meditation. This is the teaching of the Buddhas. There is no satisfying sensual desires, even with the rain of gold coins. For sensual pleasures give little satisfaction and much pain. Having understood this, the wise man finds no delight even in heavenly pleasures. Disciple of the Supreme Buddha delights in the destruction of craving. All right. I think we'll stop there. So let us do some final business before we do sharing of merits and end out for the night in the last couple of minutes. All right. Oh, no, not that one. There we go. All right, friends. So if this is your first time, you are welcome to go to the website, muggaseka.org, which is scrolling down on the screen right now. This is this website is the headquarters for everything Muggaseka. Every article I write, every YouTube video I make, everything, every retreat that I host. If you want to find out all about that, you go to that website. In the top right-hand corner, you can put your email, and anytime I post there, you can get an email when I post. On YouTube, you can click on subscribe and you can click on the bell. This way, anytime I go live, upload a new video, anything like that, you can get notification. Same thing on Twitch, I believe, as well. Not those who are watching on Facebook, because Facebook doesn't have that functionality. But if you're on Twitch, you can subscribe to my Twitch channel. Probably the only monk on that whole platform. We'll see. But so yeah, join us. The other thing that's on the screen is the email. So we have an online community, Muggaseka community, on the Discord program. This is a community that is studies and practices according to the suttas, according to the early Buddhist texts. We're not a general Buddhist community, not an ideal place for somebody brand new to Buddhism, because you're not going to get the full breadth and depth of various types of Buddhism there. But if learning from the suttas is something that you find interesting, well, come and join us. You can go to the email on the screen, muggaseka@gmail.com, send an email to us, request an invite, and we'll send you a link. So on the YouTube channel, we have Dhammapalooza every Monday night, 8 p.m. New York time, for 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Wednesdays, when I have questions, I put an Ask a Bhante video out. So if you have questions you'd like me to answer in video format for yourself or for anybody else, maybe people in the future who would benefit from the question, then feel free to send a question to me on any of the various ways you can contact me. And I'll answer it in video. And I think that's about it. Oh, Insight Timer. So if you use Insight Timer, Saturdays at 3 p.m., I do a live stream on Insight Timer. It is my most populated event that I do. It's like 100 people on Insight Timer. It's amazing how many people that I'm reaching on there. So definitely come on there. It's an hour and a half, usually Dhamma talk, Q&A, and meditation. And I think that's about it. So why don't we do our final sharing of merit? I'll share the screen. Dukkha patta chani dukkha, bhaya patta chani bhaya, soka patta chani soka, hontu sabbe pipaniyo, etta vatta cha mehi sampatang punya sampatang, sabbe deva anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya, akasatta chabumata deva naga mahiddhika, punyang tang anumoditva charang rakantu sasanang. May the suffering ones be suffering free, and the fear-struck fearless be. May the grieving shed all grief, and may all beings find relief. May all beings share this merit of ours for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness. May beings inhabiting space and earth, devas, nagas, and yakas of mighty power, share in this merit of ours. May they long protect the Buddhist dispensation. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. All right. Okay, friends. Well, until next time, Sukhi Hotu, may you be happy and at ease. Practice well and be well. May you have a spiritually successful and peaceful practice until we meet again. Good night.